Welcome, everybody. My name is Jeff Demadeo. I serve as the Director of K-12 Leadership and Career Development. I want to welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. This is our team's first and our department's first YouTube webinar. And so I want to just welcome everyone that's joining us. Couple things that you should know as a request from a previous presentation we gave in the fall. There are many folks who have reached out to us and asked if we would record this so we can share this at a later date. So I want to let you all know that this webinar will be recorded, and we will soon thereafter the presentation, we will send a follow-up email through Constant Contact with the presentation and some of the notes for tonight's webinar and the link for others to watch it. A couple ground rules beyond just the fact that it is being recorded. This is our first webinar, so a few things. One, I want to welcome all of you, but I actually can't see any of you. So whether there's 550, 500, not only can we not see you, but we also cannot hear you. And so what we're going to do tonight with our webinar is if you have questions of any time during tonight's presentation, I want you to put them in the chat. And throughout the night, you're going to get a chance to be introduced to our teammates that you see. Mrs. Richardson is going to take care of some of those questions from behind the scenes and then push them forward to us when something comes that's very specific to a particular area of industry recognized credentials. And there'll also be some specific pauses and slides where we will again open it up for questions and answers. So throughout the night, I encourage you to drop some things in the chat. Our hope is to get to as many questions as we possibly can. We have officially, we have from 6:30 really to 8 o'clock. So we have some time to dive deeper into industry recognized credentials. And so why are we talking about that tonight? As I mentioned in our presentation that our team gave in the fall about career pathways, industry recognized credentials in the world of work, we had the opportunity to do that one in person. And of course, we know that sometimes asynchronous and remote is much more flexible for families. And so we are trying it that way tonight with our first webinar. But during that conversation, one of the most common questions that parents were asking about is, in fact, industry recognized credentials. So we thought, you know what, it would be a great idea if we just devoted some time and just dove deeper into what are our industry recognized credentials, when did they arrive here at Indian Hill, what are we doing with them, and what power impact do they have in our kids as they move through. So super excited to talk with all of you tonight. Again, welcome aboard. Before we get back into it, I really also want to welcome and introduce you to our spectacular team here in the Department of K-12 Leadership and Career Development. And I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves before we get us officially started. So team?
I'll take it, Lauren. Hi, everyone. My name is Esther Hall, and I am the College and Career Counselor and Testing Coordinator at Indian Hill High School. I am so excited to be here. I'm so thrilled with this whole platform and just being able to share in-depth information about the industry recognized credentials. We all know today is the last day of Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday. You could be anywhere celebrating, but you're here with us, so we appreciate it. I am there in spirit. But we promise you that this will be well worth your time, and you will walk away feeling much more informed about all the opportunities available to your students through Indian Hill.
Good evening, everyone. I am Lauren Richardson. Feel free to say hello in the chat if you just want to make sure, this is your time to test it out. If you want to make sure it works, feel free to drop a message in there. But again, we're so happy you're with us tonight. I am the Indian Hill Experiences Coordinator. And again, I will be behind the scenes tonight, letting our experts on the team take the forefront. But anything you have throughout this presentation, please drop it in the chat. You'll see it on the right-hand side. If you're looking at the YouTube video and it's not full screen, you'll see that chat box there to the right-hand side to drop those questions. And no question's a bad question, so bring them in and we're sure that they'll be helpful to everybody.
Okay, team. So first off, thank you for introducing yourselves. And again, everyone tuning in, we're so excited that you are spending some time with us. I did not make the connection. So thank you, Mrs. Hall. I forgot it's Mardi Gras. So what are the objectives for tonight? I kind of mentioned them a few minutes ago, but we're going to hit on all of these things tonight. Number one, what are industry recognized credentials? In our first presentation in the invite, I actually left it as the abbreviation of IRCs. I had a lot of parents email me asking, what is an IRC? I'm Googling it and there's some tax codes, and that was the point. I wanted to kind of tease, what are these things? And so tonight we're going to dive deeper into what exactly is an industry recognized credential. Secondly, why are we even thinking about and starting to incorporate industry recognized credentials into the work that we do, opportunities that are created in classroom, opportunities for students to pursue independently. Very importantly, of course, is what are the benefits? What is the big why behind doing this? So what are those benefits for current students in high school, and then maybe perhaps one day middle school? What impact does that have on their high school journey, their matriculation? What skills are they ascertaining that they have an opportunity to then utilize in a variety of different ways as they continue to matriculate through school, whether or not college is their next step, or as you see there, maybe they're going straight into the workforce or they're going to enlist. So what are the benefits of industry recognized credentials? Because as many of you know, the world of work, expectations, and what is being asked of our students today in 2025 is very different than it was 5 years ago. And it's certainly different than it was when I went to high school back in the late 90s. And so really looking forward to sharing why we are, we've spent some time talking about industry recognized credentials, and we're making sure that it's part of the services and the opportunities we offer for kids. We're going to share a little bit about what are some of those approved industry recognized credentials by career field, where do they come from, and how can you explore them on your own? How can students explore what's out there? Because as Mrs. Hall is going to share a little bit, there is a plethora of opportunities there within industry recognized credentials. We're going to talk more specifically of exactly what is happening in Indian Hill, particularly at the moment. Indian Hill High School, as many of you may know, I served as the Indian Hill High School principal for the last 7 years. And so this is something that has come about slowly. We are still very much kind of in the beginning stages of not just integrating them into the places, but learning more and more about them. How does a student earn an industry recognized credential? There are a variety of different pathways that students can earn them. And in fact, and these pathways we'll share with you are the same pathways to earning them that adults in the world of work and the workforce are also taking advantage of as we speak. We're going to share some success stories. We want to share with you some of the stories of our kids and some of the incredible things that they're doing, but even more so, what is the impact they're having on their education? And also, what is the impact they're having in opportunities where they're getting to talk to future organizations and worlds of work. And as it says there, we're going to have Q&A. We're going to have Q&A at the end, but as we mentioned, feel free at any time, drop a question into the chat. And again, there will be some official pauses through the presentation to open it up for questions. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over back to Mrs. Hall.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, so thank you all again for joining us tonight. But to get started, I want to start with the why. Why are we focusing on the industry recognized credentials? Well, it's about preparing students to be competitive by making sure they have gained the knowledge and the skills in certain areas that's going to make them competitive, whether they are applying for college, enlisting in the military, applying for a job. There are skills that employers want. Recruiters are wanting these skills. Do you have work experience? Are you able to make decisions? Do you have that motivation and drive? What about your ability to work collaboratively? How are your communication skills? So outside of what is learned in the classroom, how are students adding to their skill resume or skill wallet? Sorry, there we are. So this slide here is just showing some of the points that are about skills, how recruiters want them. Some of the quotes, first one, skills are the currency of the future. Mountain evidence suggests that prediction will prove correct. Okay, so skills are going to be the main thing that recruiters are wanting. As you can read all of the other quotes, employers now say that they believe a degree is no longer a reliable way to access the quality of a job candidate. So these are all the things that we're taking into consideration because we want students not to just go to college, we want them to be employable once they're done. So as we're seeing all of these quotes, all of these things from the different employers, we want to make sure that our students are prepared and competitive in whatever pathway they take.
I'm going to add something to that real quick, Mrs. Hall, right? I wanted to share with all of you too, as Mrs. Hall just referenced, several of your students have been taking part or taking advantage of the variety of different career speakers that we've been bringing in to Indian Hill High School, really for the last couple of years. But in the last couple of months, we've had many opportunities for students to connect with career speakers. And every single one, every person that's coming from all areas of industry, marketing, aerospace engineering, the military, communication, business, have all said the same thing. And challenging us as adults and students to be able to tell our story, build our brand, and understand that the world of work is looking, as Mrs. Hall pointed out, they're looking for skills that transcend the classroom. So it's not that academics, even though it says, maybe the degree is not the end all be all as it once was, but how are you putting all of it together? How are you making yourself more competitive through all of these opportunities? And then how are you showcasing those skills, not just on paper, but actively engaging and cultivating and fostering those skills along the way in real life experiences? And so that is very much what IRCs are also all about.
So that brings us to our topic for tonight, industry recognized credentials. Let's start with what are they? So the United States Department of Labor defines a credential as a verification of an individual's qualification or competence issued by a third party with the relevant authority to issue such credentials. These could be businesses, trade associations, or even industry group assessments that measure technical competency and then validate knowledge and skills in a specific industry. So these credentials confirm that a person attained technical skills and that they're qualified to perform certain tasks because they have demonstrated a mastery in certain skills. So to be able to present this evidence to employers or to colleges is impactful. So we want to make sure that students have that impact when they're applying to colleges or to careers. Also, these opportunities are not just limited to high school students, but like Jeff said, adults are taking advantage of credentials by either upskilling or relearning certain skills and knowledge that is relative to their current job or a job that they may be seeking. So this is some of the things we talked about: the mastering skills, demonstrating skills. Students are practicing and applying knowledge that they have through their experiences, impacting the workforce and college applications. And then again, like I said, upskilling and relearning. So through the lens of an adult, think of micro-credentials. You may be more familiar with this word as opposed to industry recognized credentials, but micro-credentials are credentials that adults earn and can place on their resume to show that they've achieved knowledge in this skill. Here we have some stats that we want to share. 88% of employers said a micro-credential helped a job candidate stand out. 6 of 10 workers will require some type of retraining or relearning between now and 2027. And then from the Miami University database, they have about 7,400 micro-credential badges awarded as of January 2025. So micro-credentials are another way for adults to start relearning and upskilling their profession by going back and getting some of these micro-credentials. Jeff?
What we wanted to do as part of the presentation is also talk about, what are some of the industry recognized credentials that students have the opportunity to pursue, and also adults have the opportunity to pursue now here at Indian Hill. And so these are some industry recognized credentials that you may or may not be aware of. And some of you here may actually have some of these industry recognized credentials. And so I wanted to really not just highlight some of the things that we're putting into place right now, but also some of the companies that these are prerequisites for employment. They're prerequisites for some to move into middle management positions or to just be in the top tiers of leadership positions. So things like Lean Six Sigma, both Yellow Belt and Green Belt training has occurred here at Indian Hill. And as you can see, what other companies are or have used Lean Six in the variety of different ways. So those are companies that you're going to clearly recognize: Microsoft and Google, Motorola and Amazon, GE, Bank of America. And so I also wanted to showcase just the variety of different organizations and fields of work that use these types of credentials. They're not always content specific, and we'll showcase a little bit about what that means down the road. Leadership excellence is something that we have been putting into practice here in the district, first with our staff and our leadership team, and I'll share a couple of testimonials from some of our leaders for about 3 years. And leadership excellence is another micro-credential for adults or industry-recognized credential for students. And this credential, this learning, this certificate has also become, again, a prerequisite and a requirement for all middle managers in a variety of Fortune 100, 300, and 500 companies. And again, you get to see just a few of the names of the companies that are utilizing leadership excellence as, again, a requirement for employment, a requirement for raises, a requirement for new positions. Some that are also utilized from an Ohio State perspective for students are things like the Ohio State driver's license. So we know that most of our kids are going to get driver's licenses. That's always something that's just a rite of passage, if you will. But when we talk about graduation pathways and what does that mean for, let's say, a pathway for a student beyond just, of course, their driver's license, ODE has certified that the Ohio driver's license also counts under the umbrella of industry recognized credential. And students who earn the driver's license earn points towards graduation. We'll share a little bit more about that in a second. CPR certification, as several of you know, CPR training is a requirement for students before they leave high school. And if in fact they complete that certification, sometimes hands-on and hands-off, it also counts as an industry recognized credential. Several of you may coach youth sports, and this is one of the trainings that you do. You may not receive the credential from the organization that runs the youth sports, but here in school and through this Department of Education, it is another kind of common industry recognized credential that students can earn. The Adobe product suite, obviously with the explosion of technology and social media, digital marketing, just communication and advertising, those that are fluent in the Adobe product suite, which is a monster. There are so many different industry recognized credentials that students can earn that, again, as Esther talked about, when they go to an internship, a job, college, and they want to major in, a field such as digital media or digital media production, these are things that distinguish them from others. And that lets folks know that, again, not only have they learned some of the skills and required information maybe in a traditional classroom setting, but as Esther said, to earn an industry recognized credential, you have to apply that knowledge. You do not earn an industry recognized credential just for seat time. And that's a big difference sometimes from a traditional model of school. The Microsoft product suite, again, this is something that a lot of schools are utilizing for students. You always see it in resumes, right? People will put things like proficient in Microsoft, proficient in the Google suite. Well, there's industry recognized credentials that you can earn along the way. That idea of being proficient is something that a lot of folks have said simply because we've used Microsoft and or Google through a variety of years since Microsoft came out, whether it's school or jobs. But you can take it a step further for a young person or an adult having to upskill or relearn and have these particular credentials that mean more than me saying, hey, I'm proficient in Microsoft Office. It showcases that not only have I learned it just through practice, but I've applied it in a much bigger way. The RISE credential is something that is a very popular credential found in fields like business, customer service, and sales. It is something that we are working with and potentially integrating into our business classes down the road. The CompTIA A+ security, you're going to hear this throughout the night. This is one of the kind of premier industry recognized credentials that folks in the IT space are asking future employees or students doing internships. Some of them are doing internships right now or preparing for summer. That this is one of those distinguishers that if a student has this walking into a space, they already have a leg up. You're going to find out later tonight, they oftentimes will make more money and they'll be in charge of teams. And so we'll share some stories and success stories like that. And again, there's a variety of industry recognized credentials from large organizations such as the American Medical Certification Association. So I wanted to, if you're in healthcare, you may have heard of that organization. And again, you're going to hear through the night the number of industry recognized credentials that exist that students and adults can pursue is absolutely massive. And so the opportunities are endless. But as Esther said, the why is how they are distinguishing students and adults as they matriculate through high school, college, etc., to position them, quite frankly, to be better prepared for the future and to be more successful down the road.
Thanks, Jeff. So he spoke about a couple of those IRCs that you might be familiar with that are graduation requirements. So let's look at how industry recognized credentials relate to students and the graduation options. The Ohio Department of Graduation has set graduation requirements for students. They have 3 things that they must do in order to graduate. The first is students must show competence through the courses that they're required to take in high school. So they have to show competence in order to graduate by the classes that they're taking. The second thing that they have to do is students must demonstrate competency through passing the end of course exams in English language arts and in math. They have to earn a competency score to show competency in the end of course exams. If they can't do that or choose another option, the other options could be taking a CCP course, career activities, college admission exams like the SAT or the SAT, or even enlisting in the military. And then the final requirement, students must demonstrate readiness for their post-high school pathways by earning diploma seals. So diploma seals, there are 12 total diploma seals that students can choose to demonstrate readiness. Again, they must have 2. So they have to have one, which is a state-defined seal, and you can see them here. You have technology, the seal of biliteracy, military enlistment. There's that industry-recognized credential seal, the science, honors diploma, citizenship, Ohio means jobs, and college ready. So those are the state-defined seals. And there's a link here. When you get the slides, you'll be able to click there and see all of the information about those graduation seals and how students are able to get them. And Lauren, you can put that in the chat for us, that link. That would be great. So we talked about the 12 seals. This is 9 of them. Now the other 3 are local defined seals. Students have to earn one of these at least. Now, our students are probably going to earn more than one or more than the 2 that are required, but of those, they have to have 1 state and then 1 local, okay? So those are the 3 pathways for graduation. So now we're going to transition into some questions. Lauren, do you have anything for us?
So far, there has been nothing that has come through, but I wanted to show everybody those links that Esther is referencing are being dropped in the chat. They're on the YouTube live stream. So if you look in the chat on the right-hand side of the video, again, you would have to have the video minimized to be able to see that chat running. But all of these individual links, as they are referenced throughout the presentation, will be dropped in that chat. But no other questions right now.
Okay, we're doing a great job. Let's keep going. So we went over the different seals. And again, you can get more information by going to the links. Those are the seals that students can earn. But today we're going to focus on that industry recognized. Go back here. On the industry recognized seal. Okay, so coming back to the nice topic, but we wanted to talk you through. So I know this is a lot. We wanted to talk you through why these things are important, give you little drops of nuggets of what we're doing, how we're doing it. But now we want to talk about specifically the industry recognized credential seal. IRC's credential is a seal that some students may choose to pursue. Now, it may not even be a required task. Some students may pursue these credentials because they just want to. They may already have done the 3 competencies and show that they are competent in all 3 areas, but they still may want to pursue an industry recognized credential seal. And this is in addition to what they are learning. So this slide shows the IRCs by career field. So as student is pursuing a certain career field, they can explore the credentials that they can earn in those fields. Now there is the link, the career field link that Laura's going to drop in the chat. You can click there and you'll be able to see all of the options that students can choose from to earn credentials. So we're going to take you through one, but there are a lot. So we just wanted to give you an example of one. So say your child was interested in engineering. So they would click this engineering link, and then this is what they would see. The engineering would pop up, and then you would see this information. This information gives you all the information about credentials. The first column is the type of credential, And if you click that link where it says 3M head, eye, and face protection, click that. That's a hyperlink. And that's going to take you to the vendors that are offering the training and the certification. The next column shows how long it's going to take that to get that credential. Can you earn it in one school year? So if you can, there's going to be a dot there. If you can't, there will be no dot. So the fourth column is the point value. So to earn an industry recognized credential, you have to accumulate 12 points in a credential or a group of credentials totaling 12 points in a single career field. So in this fourth column, it shows the point value. If you wanted to, you could do the American Society for Quality ASQ Certified Quality Inspector. That's the 12 points. If you complete that, you're going to be able to get your industry recognized credential seal and be done. But as you can see in the second column, you cannot earn that in one school year. On the other hand, if you wanted to try and get those that done during the school year, maybe you could take 2 of the 6-point value credentials that are listed here. And as you can see in column 2, you can earn those in one school year. So as you're going through, you'll be able to have all that information for any of the fields that you choose. That is all set in the Ohio Department of Education's website. Another credentialing opportunity are credential pathways to certain careers. So if you click the link, another link for you to drop, Lauren, thank you. If you click that link when you get those, you'll see the different career pathways. It will give you information about the career, the name of the career, the name of the credential that the student would need, those points that we just talked about, and then the requirements. What other requirements are required? So if a student is an STNA, maybe they need to do some extra hours to secure that certification or that credential. See if I can click here. And here you can see where it would take you. So they have drone certification. It has STNA, the nursing assistant, graphic design. So let's look at graphic design. It has the 4 different points, which equals 12. Again, that's the 12 that you need. And then how to earn it, the jobs and wages that are out there, how to implement. And so just information for all of these different ones that you can find when you go to that link. So that's going to be very, very helpful as you and your child kind of sit together, see if there's anything on this list that they're interested in. Entrepreneurship, intro to electric vehicles, public safety, manufacturing. Look at those. That might be a great pathway for your child to secure the career that they're interested in. And we have created a one-pager for families that shows information about information technology career pathway. And this is the first of many, but this is for families that may be interested in this field. It gives an overview of everything that a student should be involved in if they're interested in information technology. So at the top of the screen, you'll see what the information technology career pathway is. At the bottom of the page, it has the related careers. Also on here, it shows the courses that students should be taking, and these are all Indian Hill specific school courses. So the courses that they should be taking if they're interested in this field. And then it also shows the career outlook. What is this projections for a student that's interested in this field from the next 10 years? And then after that, it has the clubs. So yes, it's great for students to be involved. But wouldn't it even be better for students to be involved in activities that kind of align with their career interests? So we have listed the clubs that they may want to join. Now, also through our Entrepreneurial Center, we have partnerships through the experiences that allow students to have hands-on experience in the fields, like through internships, externships, apprenticeships, job shadowing, and other opportunities. And these are some of the information technology specific partners that students can have those experiences with. And then also, again, students can earn some industry recognized credentials through the programs that are available at Indian Hill for information technology. So again, this is the first one-pager. We're in the process of creating one-pagers for other career areas. Coming up next should be business, healthcare, and engineering. Jeff, you want to add something?
Yeah, so Esther, what a great explanation of this. And so, yes, this is very much kind of our first iteration of really thinking about a single page or one pager that highlights a career pathway that students may be interested in. So you may say, well, why do we do this? What are we doing now? Or how do we get some of this information to families today? So again, let's say that your family, your student comes into the middle school as a sixth grader, or they just moved in, they're coming into the high school as a ninth grader. Right now, currently, and in the past, if we would sit down and we would still do all those meetings with the family, and we'd start to find out, hey, what are the things that you're interested in, or passions, curiosities? And oftentimes what happens is we would send you links and we would give you books of here's all the course offerings at the middle school. Here are all the course offerings at the high school. And as you can imagine, if you've ever been in one of them, it's comprehensive. And sometimes it's a lot. It's a lot to sometimes sift through, like, well, my son, my daughter, my child, here's what they're really into. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to create these one-pagers. So families, when they come into the middle school and or any other time beyond that, we can give this to them, we can share and say, hey, if your student is thinking about IT, or they have an inclination towards engineering and business or healthcare or the arts, here's a one-pager that really summarizes what's ahead of them and really pulling out all of the key information that right now lives in a large Google document or a Google or like a Google booklet, like a handout we would give to you. And so as Esther showed, this is going to be ever changing. This would be updated all the time. The industry recognized credentials that you see there, you're going to see some of those in a moment as we talk about some student success. Those are also not the only ones that are part of these. And so we're looking really forward to creating this to showcase and allow students to really look ahead of all that's here for them from 6th all the way to 12th grade and beyond. And so as Esther said, this is our first one. It is not a final product just yet. That's why it's not in print. We're working on it, but we're really excited to showcase at least the first iteration of that with you all tonight. So let me jump in a little bit about what has happened and what's happening right now. So industry recognized credentials by the number. I started off the night talking about, we're really just starting to integrate and assimilate industry recognized credentials. We've also, as I shared, focus on what are the ones that matter most today. And so what you can see there are some of the success stories that have happened just really in the last year and a half. And so you can see that 22 high school students earned industry recognized credentials last school year. What you see next to them is where they earned them. So we'll talk a little bit about this later, about what Project Tech is. The CS stands for computer science. So that's computer science classes and our leadership class. So we have a class here at the high school. It is for seniors and or juniors called Learning Through Leadership. And one of the things that happens within that semester class is our students become certified in leadership excellence, which I shared earlier is a kind of required industry recognized credential or a distinguisher in companies like Rolls-Royce and Southwest and Dyson and Motorola. So our students have been earning them, and that was just last year. As we jumped into this year, you can see right there at the top that 25 high school students earned industry recognized credentials in 2024 already. Again, the credentials they earned were computer science credentials, Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt, leadership excellence, which is there as well. I didn't list that, but it's in there. What you also get to see is the staff. This is not just something that we are sharing and trying to kind of amplify the experience for our students, but we're also doing this with our staff. And so you see 68 staff members have earned the leadership excellence credential in the last 3 years. And I'm going to share a few testimonials about the impact that has had from some of our adults that are in leadership positions. One of our strategic partners over the last year and a half has been the Franklin Covey. And so just in the last semester alone, 90 plus staff members have earned their 7 habits of highly effective people certificate, something we're really excited not only bringing to our staff to develop us, not just as educators, but as people, but also we're going to begin bringing this to students. 10 staff members have earned their Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt. In fact, just last week, I certified 2 more staff members in Lean Six Sigma. And this is something that we're going to be bringing to every single one of our building leadership teams so that we're talking common language. We're approaching problem solving in a very structured, organized, consistent, and most importantly, extremely effective process as we think about, how do we handle some of the things that come our way? What are those systematic approaches we take? And last, beyond Yellow Belt, once you're certified in Yellow Belt, you have the opportunity to pursue the next level of Lean Six, and that's Green Belt. And there are currently 6 staff members working towards their Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. So like I said in the beginning, we are just getting started, but obviously we're really excited about what we're doing. And I also love to highlight the fact that this is not just for students, this is also for our staff, because all of us believe in continuous improvement, and the best leaders are also the best learners. And so if we don't model that, it's hard for us to ask our students to get excited about it as well. So what questions, Mrs. Richardson, have come our way over the last 10 minutes? Hopefully there's a couple.
I'm just convinced that everybody is killing it because nobody has come online with questions. However, I did put a poll out there. Or you enjoy watching from home, and people are participating there, which is great to see. We're so happy that you're joining us tonight. And again, just thank you for your time, and feel free as this goes on. Don't leave any questions unanswered. Don't say, I wish I would have asked, because there's probably somebody else watching here tonight with us that has the same question. But so far, nothing in the chat, but thank you all for participating in the poll.
Now we will come back. We will come back. So if you're still thinking about those questions, we will kind of finish the evening again, bouncing it back to all of you to ask us some questions. So we've talked a little bit about what are industry recognized credentials. We've talked about why not only are industry recognized credentials important, as Mrs. Hall shared earlier, folks, are talking about credentials are the currency of the future in the world of work. We talked about what is the impact industry recognized credentials have on the high school experience, really the school experience, but particularly the high school experience as we connected it to graduation pathways. We talked a little bit about what is happening here in the building and in the district and the steps we're taking. But of course, one of the things that matters most is the success stories for our students. And so Mr. Liebel, Jim Liebel, if you know Jim Liebel is just an awesome kid. He's a current junior, class of 2026. Jim Liebel has not only been a monster on the basketball court as of late, although our boys did, unfortunately, their season just came to a close, but Jim is extremely passionate about computer science. And so Jim is a great example of a student that knows not exactly what Jim wants to do. He doesn't know, hey, I want to have this career. But what he does know is he has a passion for computer science. He, as many of us are doing, he sees the landscape. Technology has been a part of our lives throughout the course of probably our entire life. But as we know, that impact is accelerating at really an unpredictable rate. And so we know that the world is becoming more integrated with technology, of course, with the impact of AI. Jim knows that his passion right now is computer science. And so Jim, just in the month of August, September, and October, in one of his classes, which he's taking called Computer Science Explorations, earned these 6 industry recognized credentials just in that short period of time. Now, as Mrs. Hall alluded to earlier, if you went onto the website and you looked for these credentials, some of these credentials take a while. So Jim is not only exploring these credentials while he's in class, spending his time in class, creating and building distinguishers for him for his resume, expanding his toolbox in the world of IT. But he's also doing some of these things on his own time. And that's some of the cool things with an industry recognized credential. And I'll talk about that in a minute. It is not something that just has to happen within the confines of a traditional 7-bell schedule in a class. These are things that are being done by students independently, like Jim as well, but also within class. But one of the reasons why I wanted to showcase Jim particularly is not only has he been crushing it, and if you've noticed, some of those industry recognized credentials are all with Python. We continue to ask our strategic partners in the areas of computer science and business and healthcare, marketing, and communications, what are some of those key credentials that you know of and that are impactful that you're looking for in future employees, and not just employees, but also future students that are thinking about majoring in fields that these credentials live under or impact. But if you looked at the bottom there, we wanted to share some of the information. Jim right now, when he graduates in 2026, he doesn't need to go to school. He literally can go right out of the workforce, become a Python developer, and the average salary, as you see there, for a Python developer is just over $111,000. That is money that a student can be making at 18, 19 years old. Now, Jim wants to go to college. Absolutely, he wants to go to college. And he's already actually starting to feel some colleges that want him to come to college, not just for his academic success, but also his athletic success. But we share those numbers because of the potential impact that these credentials can have on a student as they matriculate and then go on to the next. As many of you know, there are companies coming back to Ohio or coming to Ohio for the first time. Things like Honda, who is expanding, Intel is coming, Google is coming, Amazon is expanding here. And they're all looking for individuals with these types of industry recognized credentials. I've met with some of the representatives through the Business Advisory Council with the representatives from Intel, and they've already started to talk about the impact that they want to have here in the local economy in hiring credentialed high schoolers into their space. And while they're with Intel will also help them pay, help them pay for college along the way. So again, the benefits, the landscape of what is next is very different than even it was when I was in school. And so we wanted to share that one success story, but Mrs. Saul and I are going to share a few others along the way tonight.
Yes, I just like to also highlight Ethan Sargent. He is also a junior, and he has earned the ISC2 cybersecurity credential, and he's working on his Python. And I just asked him, why is this important to you? What made you pursue going after these credentials? And you can see his quote, "I'm pursuing these credentials because I plan to major in computer science in college, and it will allow me to gain diverse experiences that I can apply in the future." And so it's not just about, the now. He's looking ahead. And I love to share the student successes because I want students to see themselves in these testimonials. I want students to say, yeah, I can get with that. That sounds like me. That's something for me. We want all students to know that these credentials, these opportunities are available to everyone. We want everyone to take advantage of all the opportunities that are available, and just sharing these testimonies because they might be friends with some of these students that we're sharing, and that might get some conversations going. So just making students be aware of who is pursuing these things outside of the classroom and the why.
That's the power of positive peer pressure, Esther.
That's a tongue twister, Jeff.
It is. Positive peer pressure. And as Esther said, we want them to share the stories, and that's how they bring their peers on, and it allows them to know what is available to them that sometimes they wouldn't go and explore on their own.
Exactly. And so here's another list of more comprehensive of some more of the students that have earned some of the credentials or are working on. Well, this list shows all of them that have completed it. So again, students that they're familiar with, they may be friends, they may see them and ask questions about it. And we go with that power of positive peer pressure.
Yeah. Well, and I'll add something to this as well. As Esther shared, these students here on the screen are all linked right now with computer science. And so, you may say, well, my child's not really into computer science. What is this? What is the impact? Well, as I mentioned earlier, we did not list the 35 students that have earned their Leadership Excellence credential over the last year and a half. We did not list the 11 students that are in math this year, in a math class this year, that earn their yellow belt in Lean Six Sigma. And so the opportunities to earn credentials and the success stories that are coming out of them, we're just getting started. And as Esther said, as we also know that, students bring their friends on board, and then they start to share the experience that they had. And then they bring a friend and say, hey, this is something that I did. Here's the power and the impact of it. You should do this with me. And that's what this is all about. It is about creating distinguishers for our students to allow them to truly be prepared for the future, whatever it is that they decide to do when they leave. So what you see here, as we've talked a lot about students, but I also mentioned a little bit about the fact that industry recognized credentials is something that we're sharing with our staff. And so I wanted to showcase these two individuals. You may know them. The top quote is from Miss Christina Smith, who is currently serving as the K-12 Dean of Students. Several of you may know Mrs. Smith as a teacher down in the primary school. And Christina Smith went through the Leadership Excellence training. I had the opportunity to be one of her coaches for that. And the second quote is from Mr. Alex Fries. You may know Mr. Fries. He has been teaching at the middle school for many years. He was going to be the instructional coach, and now he is serving as the assistant principal. And the reason why I share these quotes, again, as Esther mentioned, they are powerful testimonials of the impact that this learning has. You know, one of the things we really want to focus in, and it's something that we've always said in school, right? We know that you learn the most by doing, or you learn the most by reflecting on what you've done. But the question of why, the question of impact, is something that we always should be asking ourselves of what is the value and why are we doing the things that we're doing? And so when you get a chance to talk to students and they share their testimonials, and in this case, you get to see the impact, if you read those quotes, that it's had on our leaders. That's a powerful testimonial or a powerful example of why we're doing this work, to expand their tool belts, to make them better leaders, better role models, better educators, because that's what we want for everyone in our organization, is to continue to improve and grow. And so I just wanted to share these two. And again, as you saw, this is two of roughly, I think the number I shared earlier was over 30 staff members that have now gone through Leadership Excellence training.
Jeff, I just want to pop in, Jeff and Esther. They had a question come through, and I thought just with, to do it timely, I just pop in and throw it to both of you. Is obtaining the IRCs independent of courses taken at school, or is the school facilitating the process for students? So I just give you all a moment to talk, and if you wanted to cover this.
So Esther, why don't I cover that? I'll mention it briefly. First off, thank you for being the first official question of the night. Yes. Woo! So here's what I will say. The answer is yes and yes. And one of the things we're going to talk in a couple of minutes is how are students earning these industry recognized credentials? You are right. They are obtaining them both in school, within courses, and they are obtaining them independent of their traditional 7-bell day. Some of them are using time in their schedule, like study halls or our Flex Learning Bell, to spend time, because as you saw, or if you get a chance to go through all the many links that Esther shared, a lot of these things are done asynchronously, at least in the beginning or mostly towards the end. So they can pursue them really anytime they want. And yes, we are facilitating the process for students. So one of the things that I'll mention is how we're doing that. So we're doing a variety of different things. We're talking to our industry partners and asking them the questions of what industry recognized credentials do you know of that matter that we should be thinking about? And then we're going to do our own research. When those industry recognized credentials are potentially linked to a class or a field of classes like engineering or business, we actually have those conversations with our staff members to see if they've ever heard of those credentials, or is it something that they want to go through with staff as well? We have some credentials happening right now in our digital media course that both our teacher and their students are doing together, which is a really cool experience. And so, yes, we are facilitating the process along the way. I'll talk a little bit about some fees and how that works in the world of industry recognized credentials, because again, these are things that Esther shared. A student could go in any of those career fields, those career clusters, click on a link and say, hey, that's a really cool opportunity. How do I explore it? And you can hit the hyperlink as Esther shared, and you literally could do it completely independent of your own. You can say to your parents, your guardians, hey, I'd love to do this. Click the link, follow their directions. There's a fee for most of these, and they can do it on their own. But yes, we are very much facilitating the process, walking not just the student through the process, but their families as well, of how to do this. So great question. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment as well. Esther, is there anything you want to share that I missed?
You got it all, Jeff.
And there's one more question if you guys have a moment, just so we don't have to wait till the end. Okay. How do we obtain IRCs, for example, Python related IRCs? So how do they go about that?
Well, first off, that's a last name that I recognize. And so your child, such as Sanuka, has been a huge part of computer science. And Again, they can obtain industry recognized credentials through courses where they exist. I'm going to share a little bit about something that happened 2 years ago in what's called our Big Pitch competition. That was one of the very first opportunities for students in Indian Hill High School to pursue an industry recognized credential. And so they obtain them, as we talked about, both through sometimes coursework that happens in the traditional classroom. They obtain them sometimes on their own time or a flex of both. And they can obtain them independently by themselves. And so there are many ways to earn an industry recognized credential. So if there's a more specific question and I didn't answer that well enough, please feel free to drop an additional detail into that and I'll see if I can further elaborate.
Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and keep moving through. And hopefully if another question comes through, Lauren, just feel free to interrupt us. And then also at the end, we're going to show some next steps also, just so you all can have that thought. Oh, I see you. So
hello. So the questions are rolling in. Again, we are so excited to get your questions. So just because, I know sometimes people have to jump on and jump off. If we can do them timely, since we're answering some questions, we can. And actually the message was submitted and just pulled out, so maybe you all answered it for them, so that's great news.
All right. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about are the impact securing, not just IRCs, the impact in securing a job, but also how the earnings are associated with that. Okay, so how much students are earning, how much people are earning just because of these credentials or certifications or licenses. Here are some statistics that show how employers look at certifications, the power of certifications, and the next stats show how the pay difference is with certification. So looking at this first one, you can see that the second one in areas like cybersecurity, certifications such as that one can increase salaries by up to 40%, while a certified Scrum Master in Agility can earn 25% more. So as you can see, there is a pay difference, how much you can earn just because you have gone through these certifications. And then down here at the bottom, the pay differentials, just looking at project manager for your certified person, $123,000. Okay. The advanced APRN, $110,000 versus an RN that's nurse certified is $70,000. A CPA can earn average 25% more. Okay. So again, there's a source there. You'll be able to see the links and look at more into those stats, but that's just one way that the certifications can help long-term and how employers look at them in terms of earnings. And this is a increased pay policy that I found on the state of Iowa's Department of Health and Human Services. And just this first line, the increased credentials pay increase is a one-time increase to the employee's base pay due to an additional job-related or job-enhancing degree from an accredited college or university, or job-related enhancing professional certification and licensures from the appropriate entity. So they have this as a policy that if you are securing more knowledge, more skills in certain areas, then that's going to be a pay increase. This slide here, it shows the different careers listed. And then the first column, it's the name of the career. The next column is the salary that the person in that career earns with certification. And in parentheses is the certification that is needed to make that amount. And then the last column is the difference between a certified worker in those areas and a non-certified worker in those areas. And then in the parentheses, you'll see the difference. So an actuary that's certified makes 75% more than a non-certified. So this is just another way to share how influential certifications can be. And you can see it. Sometimes money is the thing that talks. And so this is a situation where you can see the differences. And the growth of industry recognized credentials, starting in 1995, how they have grown, just steadily grown over the years, over the past 25 years, starting with, and this was when they first started tracking industry recognized credentials. Not to say that it wasn't before that, but they just started tracking those industry recognized credentials in 1995. And you can check the source from the Digest of Education Statistics. But these are how many credentials have been received over the last 25 years. Jeff?
So one of the questions, and again, I think that's a really powerful picture to share. The concept of industry recognized credentials, the impact it has is growing. And I'll give kind of an anecdotal story as well. We are very much connected to our local universities. And anytime we start to offer an opportunity, whether it's leadership opportunity, whether it is an entrepreneurship opportunity, whether it's a training opportunity, whether it's Xavier, Ohio State, Stanford, Harvard, one of the things that we're having questions and conversations about is if we partner with them, will they in fact create a micro credential or a badge that our students or staff can use, put on their resume, put on their LinkedIn profiles to, again, showcase the fact that they've done it. They also stand out more sometimes on a resume. And so they're continuously growing. The opportunities are growing as well. So Esther, if you go to the next slide, one of the things that we mentioned in the question was also like, how do you earn an industry recognized credential? And so we mentioned it a little bit, but I wanted to say and share it just in case you stepped out. But again, they are offered, or they can be earned in a variety of different ways. Number one, they can be offered in a traditional classroom. So you see there, what you see there is AP-CSP stands for AP, or Advanced Placement, Computer Science Principles. This is part of our computer science pathway. AP-CSA is Advanced Placement Computer Science A. Yellow Belt training exists. Leadership training exists. Leadership training exists through a variety of different classes, such as Learning Through Leadership, our video tech classes, our digital media classes, and business classes. We are offering a variety of different credentials. And so they can be offered or earned during their class time. They could also be earned independently that you see there. ODE stands for the Ohio Department of Education. And the reason why I listed it as that is because, as Esther shared, there is a laundry list of things that can happen in there. One of the things that happened, as you see down at the bottom, 2 years ago, we had our very first Shark Tank high school combined event where students had the opportunity to pitch ideas that can improve the high school experience. And one of the big winners of that first year was a group that they called themselves Project Tech. And what Project Tech was an independent computer science-based credentialed pathway, a 4-credentialed pathway, sponsored by a vendor called EC Council. And students can matriculate through those 4 credentials completely on their own. That group started with 2. That group right now is 12 students. Those students are pursuing those credentials on their own right now. Some are using their study hall times, as I mentioned earlier. Some are using their flex times, but they're not earning those same credentials in a computer science class. They could, but they also have the ability to do it independently. Some of those credentials are district-wide. So I mentioned earlier our partnership with Franklin Covey and the Leader in Me and the 7 Habits training and certificates that are coming. That's a district-wide opportunity. Something I failed to mention earlier is we piloted with our leadership students in the Learning Through Leadership class in the fall, a student self-leadership credential through the Blanchard Institute. And many folks know that name as well as a kind of one of the foremost leadership groups globally. And so we had some students, we partnered with them, and they've earned that badge. And that badge sits as a micro badge in their email signatures or their LinkedIn. People can click it and learn all about the things that they've done. So there are a variety of different ways that a student can earn an industry recognized credential. One of the things that we want to mention with industry recognized credential, and as part of the question, is there are some potential costs for credentials. Now, this varies widely based on the credential. So, for example, I can research a cybersecurity credential that's sponsored by the Ohio Department of Education and a vendor. And that credential could cost $300. That credential could cost $250. There are some that cost multiple thousands of dollars. And so, as the question that we addressed earlier alluded to, we work with our teachers, we work with our students and our families to say, okay, what is the right credential right now? And then financially fee-based, is it possible to kind of go achieve or earn that credential now? Or is there an alternative that carries just as much weight that potentially is cheaper or has less fee, or maybe if it's even free? Sometimes those fees are part of a class. So in the Learning Through Leadership class, as I mentioned, every student that's in that class, part of their curriculum is the Leadership Excellence Certificate. That is a $25 certificate. And so since they're all earning it, that $25 has become the class fee. That helps part of the books and the binders and the resources they have, but it also covers their test and their credential. And or the last thing I'll mention is Project Tech, which I mentioned. As Big Pitch winners, the Big Pitch winners were funded by our partners there at the Indian Hill Foundation. And they create or give seed money towards those that have won. And so their Project Tech is actually paying for and financing the accumulation of their IRCs with money that was given, and again, awarded to them, but also from our Indian Hill Foundation. And so there are a variety of different ways that students can earn industry recognized credentials. And the fee part is something that we work together with the vendor, our students, our staff, and or our parents. And again, it varies widely based on what they choose. And as the question alluded to earlier, we work with our students to facilitate which are the right IRCs for our kids now. So we're getting close to the end of our time. But before we kind of close it out officially, Mrs. Richardson, are there any more questions out there?
Yes, actually, we have two from a current student, which I love seeing a current student on a live stream. So I'll send the first one in. You can let me know who wants to take it. But the question is, are IRCs specific to IHHS? And could somebody take independent courses with, for example, CCP, and get those as well?
Well, Arpad, that's a great question. And I'm not surprised, Arpad, to see you on this call. I'm so proud. I'm impressed, young man. So the answer is, to your first question, are IRCs specific to Indian Hill High School? The answer is no. There are many schools that are integrating industry recognized credentials into their coursework, or they're sharing what it can be independently for students. And so it is not just an Indian Hill High School thing. It is schools across the country. If you were to look at other schools, Department of Education, other states' Department of Education websites, again, you know that I'm from New York. New York also has a very extensive list of recognized industry credentials that they recognize for pathways and distinguishers for those students in New York State. Could somebody take independent courses, for example, CCP, and get those as well? That's a great question. That is something, Arpad, that we are working with our partners as we continue to bring CCP classes either within our campus or students are pursuing them on their own. So, for example, one of the classes that we brought this year to Indian Hill High School, as you may or may not know, is strategic entrepreneurship. And where our partner with that is Sinclair State. We asked them as we were building this class, are there industry recognized credentials within their curricular framework that that within their curriculum allow students to earn along the way? For the strategic entrepreneurship class as it is today, the answer to that was no. For others, there are credentials in there such as the RISE credential. For engineering, there are some credentials that exist in CCP classes. It actually is completely up to the university or college that is sponsoring the CCP class, whether or not the industry recognized credential is part of the actual curriculum. So you take a CCP class, maybe it's just the fall semester. It's completely up to them. Although every time we have a conversation about bringing the CCP class to Indian Hill, this is a question we ask them. What are some of those fringe benefits a student can have or earn along the way? And the concept of industry recognized credentials are coming up over and over and over again. So Arpad, my hope is that it is embedded in all future CCP classes, because as you've seen tonight, they are extremely valuable and they make you stand out along the way.
Awesome. Thank you, Arpad. And he sent us in one more that I think is a fantastic question, especially as we discuss resumes, LinkedIn profiles. His question is, how would you recommend somebody communicate IRCs to employers? Essentially, where would you put it on a resume if you were submitting it to somebody? I can tell you my take on it. I think that a lot of the times people in their resumes have certifications portions. So that is definitely something, again, as you saw Jim's list that he has, he definitely would probably want a separate maybe certification section of his resume. But again, I think you could put it under education and it fall the same way. But I would love, Esther and Jeff, your take on it as well. In my mind, I feel like a certification section makes the most sense.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lauren, but also as far as the college process, if you're going to be submitting this information to colleges, most more than likely there's going to be a section where they ask you to submit your activities, extracurriculars. You can list that there under awards and honors, things like that, because it's not just an activity, but this is something that is going to look at a little bit more. I think that they would look at it a little bit more stronger because you've gone through all these certifications and it's something that is more than an activity. So I would put that in like an awards or honors place in a college application.
Yeah, RPED and everybody else, kind of twofold. I agree. I would definitely have it listed within my resume. I'd have it very clearly listed in my resume. As you have witnessed yourself, RPED, as you have been a participant in a variety of different opportunities, when our guest speakers come and they ask you, hey, you have 60 seconds. You have 60 seconds to tell me who you are, why are you here, what makes you stand out, maybe than the next person. This is something that should be coming up in your conversation when you have an opportunity to talk about who you are and what makes you special, what makes you a good fit for that college when you have an interview with an admissions officer or an employee or an internship through our program. And then as something we've also been developing is our LinkedIn profiles. And in the LinkedIn profile portion, there is an area as you build your profile that says certifications. So I'll give you two anecdotal quick stories. One, you can list things right in there. It's in mine. You can check out my LinkedIn profile. You'll see all the certifications I have. But I'll also share a little story. As you know, we had our last business at breakfast and partnered with our global families, which is awesome. And one of the partners, the original partners on the list could not make it that day. And so who they shared with Mrs. Richardson and I said, hey, we're not going to be able to make it, but I'm going to send one of our individuals in my place. And so Mrs. Richardson and I looked that individual up on LinkedIn. We wanted to know more about them. And RPED, right below their name, was the organization they work for. And then right underneath that, it said Lean Six Sigma certified. That's how powerful some of these credentials are. And this individual who works for a very large company listed it right at the top of their LinkedIn profile. So remember, one of the big whys of these are distinguishers that make you stand out. And remember, these credentials are about earning them through the application of knowledge, not just seat time. And so that's a different level of learning. So yes, find the right place. Don't leave them off. Make sure they're part of your own story when you're building your brand and sharing a little bit about yourself with anybody. You definitely want to mention some of the things that you've done and you've earned. Great question, RPED. All right, I'm going to open it back out to our community. What other questions do you have at this point? And then Mrs. Hall, we're going to put on the next steps. So if you have a question, great. If you don't, and you're thinking, okay, this is a lot of information, but also like, what is my next step? These are the things that we would encourage you to think about, whether you're a parent, a guardian, or a student. Number one, it all starts with you. What are the things that you're passionate about? What are the interests that you have? What are some of the things that you're curious about? And then, how are you linking your curiosities, your interests to potential career pathways along the way? You know, we had a great guest speaker the other day, and one thing she said that was powerful, she said this: never chase money. Money will come, but joy in what you do is priceless. So don't chase a salary. Find out, hey, what do I like? And then what is out there that is connected to my interests within a career cluster? And then go explore those career clusters. Utilize the links that were shared tonight and go start to explore all the different careers. One of the things that's really unbelievable is that list of careers, as we know, not only is it vast, but it's changing every day. We continuously hear things like those that are graduating from high school are going to be applying for jobs that don't even exist yet, but start looking at them now. And then explore credentials that potentially are linked to those career work, those career clusters and fields of work, and see, hey, is it something I can pursue, whether it is through a class or independently? Of course, you have resources here. As it says, connect with your school counselor. These are conversations, obviously, Mrs. Hall's our career and college counselor, but our counselors in middle school and high school, we're having these conversations. So connect with your school counselor. Let them also help you, find the things that you're interested in, and then let us know where are the areas that we should be pursuing and we should be doing additional research to offer new opportunities. And as it says there, we kind of said, explore every opportunity you can outside of class. What are the clubs that are out there that make sense? What are some of those experiences and internships? Volunteer. Remember, choose wisely. Don't have a resume with 6 clubs. Have a resume with 2 that you've actually done something with. Remember, if you could tell a story, then you've actually probably spent some sufficient and efficient time there. If you can't, then it just is another bullet. So choose wisely and then follow the things that you're interested in. You can't lose. So those are some next steps we recommend that everybody takes. All right. So Mrs. Richardson, before we officially close this out, are there any additional questions that we can answer for our guests?
Nope, I think that's it.
All right. So a couple of things. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you for spending some time with us. We know it is an evening. We know it's Tuesday night. There are always things that you can be doing other than joining us. But it means the world that you're coming in and you're spending some time to learn about the opportunities that we are building here at Indian Hill. So thank you for your time. As Mrs. Richardson said, if you have a question that pops into your head after we close out in a few minutes, feel free to stay connected. Email any of us here on the screen. You have our email addresses there. You can follow us on a variety of different social media channels just to stay in contact. This is something, like I said in the very beginning, we're just scratching the surface. And if in fact the prediction that credentials are the currency of the future, we know it's just going to continue to become something more and more that our students and our adults are not only going to need, but we're going to expand as opportunities. So stay connected. As we said, we're going to share all this information out with the community probably sometime tomorrow. So look out for that email. And again, what a joy it has been. I'm going to thank you from myself. I'll let the team do the same for spending some time with us in our very first Department of K-12 Leadership and Career Development YouTube webinar.
And we would love your feedback, so feel free share with us any feedback as well, any future presentations you hope to see. Again, we're happy to inform everyone because we know everybody's busy, and if you can enjoy dinner with your family with a live stream playing in the background, I mean, what could be better, right? Other than Mardi Gras, as Esther said,
And yes, some people may be participating in Mardi Gras. So please share this message with your friends, family, so that they don't miss out on these excellent opportunities that are available to everyone through the district. So again, thank you all for joining us, and please feel free to stay connected.
Have a good night.
Have a great night, everybody. Go Braves.